They didn't fire me because I failed. They fired me because I made the wrong guy feel small. That's the truth of it. I was in the middle of rolling out a system that was saving the company tens of thousands a week, literally rescuing it from collapse. And I still got walked out like a temp who messed up the copier. No warning, no conversation. Just an early morning meeting with dead eyes and a folder on the table. But that wasn't the end of it. It couldn't be. Because 3 days later, the man who fired me was begging for my help. Before we dive in, where are you listening from? And what time is it for you right now? Drop a comment below. I read everyone. I arrived early. My name's Nathan Hale. I'm 42, born in Milwaukee, and built my career the way my dad taught me to fix a broken fence. Get in, get dirty, and don't leave until it's solid. I worked my way up from the warehouse floor to director level, managing ops for a national logistics chain. That's not glamorous work, I know. I didn't wear designer suits or close deals on yachts. I managed fleets, warehouses, routing systems. I was the guy people called when the trucks stopped rolling and the deliveries didn't show. And I was damn good at it. That's probably what got me fired. The guy who replaced my old boss came in fresh from the Ivy Leagues. Greg Talbot. Polished, confident, and so green he thought warehouse loading schedules were just calendar entries. He talked in buzzwords and leaned hard on disruption, but never once set foot in our Midwestern distribution center, where the real magic and chaos happened. He was the kind of guy who shook your hand while already planning to replace you with someone who used the same jargon he did. The day he let me go, it was quiet in the building. Too quiet. He asked me to join him in the third-floor conference room, an awkward, sterile space that always smelled like burnt coffee and dry erase markers. When I stepped in, HR was already there. Jessica looked like she'd rather be anywhere else. Greg didn't waste time, said the company was going in a new direction. No warning, no feedback. Just a line about appreciating my years of service and a sealed envelope with some boilerplate paperwork inside. I didn't yell, didn't even argue. That would have given him something to hold on to. Instead, I nodded, boxed up the framed photo of my kids and the ceramic coffee mug my daughter made in art class, and walked out the same way I came in, quietly. But in my chest, something cracked. Not from the loss of the job, from the sheer disrespect. After everything I'd poured into that place, they tossed me like an old receipt. But even then, I knew something Greg didn't. He thought firing me was cutting weight. He didn't realize I was the load-bearing beam. And when the roof started to collapse, I'd be the only one who knew how to stop it. It took exactly 2 days for the panic calls to start. Carter from sales rang me Friday morning, voice tense, like he was whispering from a war zone. "Nate, Western Regional's a disaster. Routing's broken, trucks are piling up, and Greg's blaming IT." I could almost picture Greg in his office, sleeves rolled, trying to lead his way through a crisis he didn't understand. My plan? The one that cut idle driver hours and rerouted bottlenecks in the central corridor, was gone. Just like that. Scrapped, like a bad idea, because Greg didn't know how to read a field report without a consultant's help. The irony burned hot. I'd spent the last 6 months working nights to map that system, shaving waste down like a sculptor with a chisel. It wasn't theory, it was tested. Proven. And Greg, he hadn't even asked me to explain it before binning the whole thing. Just fired me and wiped it all clean, like deleting a file he didn't bother to back up. I didn't answer Carter's questions right away. I just listened. Calm. "I don't know what to do," he finally said. "He's talking about bringing in an outside firm to audit operations. You know what that means, right?" Yeah, I knew. It meant heads would roll. Not Greg's, of course, not yet. That afternoon, I got another call. Then another. People I'd worked with for years, managers, dispatchers, even one of the drivers who got my personal number off an old message thread, reaching out to say everything was falling apart. No one could make sense of the new reporting structure. Vendor contracts were getting missed. One client threatened to pull $1 million deal over a missed deadline. I said the same thing to everyone. I'm not there anymore. I wish I could help. But I was helping. Quietly. I wasn't bitter. Okay, I was, but I was also curious. Curious to see just how fast the walls would start shaking. I kept tabs, monitored the fallout. And in the meantime, I started laying bricks under something new. I wasn't going to beg for a seat back at the table. I was going to build my own. The thing about being the guy who holds things together is, you know where every weak point is. You know where the pressure builds, which wires spark when tugged. I knew which clients were one late shipment away from walking. I knew which team leads had been keeping their departments afloat with duct tape and weekend hours. And most importantly, I knew who Greg was leaning on, and how little they actually knew. That Sunday evening, while my kids were drawing sidewalk chalk on the driveway and Dana handed me a beer without saying a word, I got the call. Greg. I didn't answer, let him sweat. Greg didn't leave a voicemail. He didn't have to. Just seeing his name flash across my screen was satisfying in a way I didn't expect. I watched the call ring out, set my phone on the porch railing, and took a long sip of the beer Dana handed me. That was her way of saying, you don't have to do anything right now. Just breathe. She always knew what I needed before I did. It rang again an hour later. This time he did leave a message. His voice was tight, forced calm. Hey Nathan, hope you're doing well. Listen, we're running into some unexpected turbulence with the transition. Would really appreciate it if we could talk. Nothing formal. Just hoping we could pick your brain for a few minutes? Pick my brain. I let out a small laugh and deleted the message. By Monday morning, I had 2 more missed calls and an email from his assistant trying to schedule a quick conversation. That's when it clicked. He wasn't just trying to save face. He was in real trouble. My system had touched everything: routing, vendor performance, warehouse coordination, even client satisfaction dashboards. When he pulled it out like a weed, he'd actually yanked the foundation out from under half the company. And now it was buckling. I took my time replying, sent back a short message. Appreciate you reaching out. Let's talk tomorrow afternoon. I'll call you. That was it. No signature, no warm regards. I wanted him to feel the shift, the power changing hands. When I called, Greg picked up on the first ring. Nathan, man, I really appreciate this. Look, I'll just be honest with you. We underestimated how integrated your system was. There's some confusion internally and, client pressure. We were hoping you could help us straighten a few things out. I didn't say anything at first, just let the silence stretch. He started filling it. Obviously, we'd compensate you for your time. Maybe bring you on as a consultant. No strings, no long-term expectations, unless you want something more permanent down the road. That last part? That was desperation. And it tasted good. But I wasn't there to gloat, not yet. I'll think about it, I said finally. But if we do this, it's on my terms. He stammered out something like agreement, clearly relieved. Of course. Totally understand. But I didn't hang up right away. I leaned back in my chair and dropped the first match. By the way, I know you froze the Western Corridor loop. That loop was set to cut $2.3 million in annual costs. It was already performing above projections. Silence on the line. He hadn't known the number. He'd never even looked at the post-pilot report. I let the silence linger again before ending the call. We'll talk tomorrow. He had no idea that by the time we did, I'd already be talking to his boss. Tuesday morning, I shaved, ironed a button down, and drove downtown. Not for Greg, but for someone far above him. See, while Greg had been busy flexing his MBA and swinging his axe at people like me, I'd stayed in touch with the one person who actually understood my value. The executive VP, Marla Jensen. She'd been with the company for 2 decades, quietly keeping things stable while the young bucks came and went every few years with their slogans and 6-month strategies. Marla never said much in meetings, but when she asked for numbers, she read them. So I gave her numbers. I emailed her a short report the night before. A before and after breakdown of my system's performance, the projected loss from Greg's changes, and a 3-week forecast showing missed KPIs across 4 regions. It was clean, bulletproof, and laced with just enough urgency to get her attention. At the bottom, I wrote, "If you're open to a conversation, I'm available in person tomorrow." She responded at 6:12 a.m. sharp. "Meet me at 10. Bring everything." So I did. Her office was quiet. No HR, no posturing. She asked smart questions, took notes, and listened. Really listened. When I finished, she looked over her glasses and said, "He didn't even try to understand any of this, did he?" "No," I said. "He didn't." She nodded slowly. "And you're sure you can rebuild it?" "I don't need to rebuild it. It's still there, just broken. I can fix it in 2 weeks, if I'm given the authority." She didn't ask what I meant by that. She already knew. Greg wasn't just in over his head. He was dragging the company down with him. And if she didn't cut him loose soon, her job would be on the line next. We shook hands. Nothing in writing, not yet. But I left her office with something better than a promise. I left with permission. That afternoon, Greg called again. "Hey, just checking in. Did you have time to think about—" I cut him off. "Yeah, I've thought about it. Here's the deal. I'll come in as a contractor for now, not reporting to you. I'll report directly to Marla." Silence. Then, That's not how this structure works, Nathan." "It is now, or I don't come in at all." He tried to push back, weakly. Said he needed to loop in legal, clarify scopes, blah blah blah. I knew the stall tactics. But what he didn't know was that I was already in. My badge had been reactivated, my system access restored, not by him, but by someone who actually ran things. I let him ramble for a while, then said, "Greg, just try not to break anything else before I get there." I hung up before he could respond. I wasn't going back as an employee. I was going back as the man who could save what he almost destroyed. Walking back through those doors was surreal. Same elevator chime, same cheap carpet smell, same receptionist pretending not to notice everything. But it wasn't the same anymore. I wasn't the same. I didn't belong to that place now. I wasn't under anyone's thumb. I was the guy who got fired, then called back to stop the bleeding. That kind of shift, you feel it in your bones. You walk taller, speak slower. Everyone notices. Word spread fast. People stared, some smiled, others avoided eye contact like I was a ghost. Carter came by my new temporary desk, just a small corner cubicle upstairs, but private, quiet, and more symbolic than anything. "Didn't think we'd see you back in here," he said with a grin. I just smiled and said, "Neither did Greg." Greg didn't show his face that first day. He sent some generic email to the team about a special consulting engagement to stabilize key operations, probably hoping to make it sound like his idea. It wasn't. Everyone knew it. And as I dug back into the mess he made, frozen routing algorithms, missed vendor SLAs, incomplete transition logs, it was worse than I'd imagined. He hadn't just paused my system. He'd tried to replace it with some off-the-shelf solution his old roommate from business school pitched to him. Half-baked, buggy, and blind to the actual field conditions. It was almost funny until I saw the financials. We were bleeding money. The Western Corridor was down 19% in fulfillment rate. 4 major clients were on the verge of walking. The warehouse in Laredo was 3 days behind on loading outbound shipments. If this kept up for another month, layoffs would be inevitable. Greg had turned a lean humming machine into a rusted-out mess in under 90 days. I rolled up my sleeves, literally, and started calling the people I trusted, the ones who'd been quietly holding the pieces together while Greg played manager. Nina from routing, Jose from fleet maintenance, Camille from analytics. I didn't just ask for help, I asked for trust. "We're not doing this for them," I said. "We're doing it for us, for the people who actually give a damn about this place." And they showed up. They worked nights, skipped lunches, fixed bugs no one else could even find. Within 4 days, we had the original routing loop reinitialized. By day 6, we were already seeing efficiency spikes in the Midwest. I was back in my zone, solving problems, unbreaking what someone else broke. Only this time, I wasn't chasing a promotion or trying to win anyone's approval. I was building something because I wanted to, but here's the thing about fixing what someone else broke. Eventually, you have to deal with the person who broke it. Greg couldn't hide forever, and the next time we were in a room together, it wouldn't be him sitting at the head of the table. Greg finally showed up on day 8. He walked into the morning ops meeting late, eyes darting, smile thin. Tried to act like nothing had changed, like I was still just a consultant, and he was still in charge. But the room didn't tilt toward him anymore. He sat down, glanced at the reports I'd prepared, and said, "Looks like we're stabilizing. Great work, team." No one responded. I let him sit in that silence. Then I took over the meeting, without asking. "Let's walk through the western corridor first. Camille, can you pull up the before and after numbers?" We walked through every metric. Driver on-time percentage up 12%. Vendor penalties down 40%. Client retention stabilized. It wasn't bragging, it was evidence. Numbers don't have opinions. And those numbers told the whole room that Greg hadn't just mismanaged things, he'd nearly wrecked the engine. Greg didn't say a word the rest of the meeting. That afternoon, Marla called me into her office. Her expression was calm, but sharp. "The board met this morning," she said, folding her hands. "They've been reviewing everything, your report, the data, and the leadership decisions made over the last 60 days. I didn't interrupt. I just listened. She continued, "They've decided to terminate Greg's contract, effective immediately." It hit me like a quiet wave. No celebration, no fist pump, just a long exhale. She looked me square in the eye. "They also want to offer you the role of Vice President of Operations, officially, reporting directly to me." I didn't answer right away. I thought about the late nights, the disrespect, the walk out the front door with my daughter's mug in a box. Then I thought about the people I worked with. People who showed up, stayed late, and gave a damn when leadership didn't. "I'll take it," I said finally, "but only if I pick my own team." "You will," she said. "That's why we want you." Greg was escorted out that evening. Quietly. No goodbyes, no speeches, just a box in his arms and a stunned look on his face. The same look I probably had 2 weeks earlier. But he never understood the work, never respected the people, never saw what held everything together. I did. When I got home that night, I stepped out of the car and just stood there for a moment in the driveway. The porch light was on. The house was quiet. Dana came out, barefoot, wine glass in hand. She didn't ask how it went. She didn't need to. She saw it on my face. I wrapped my arm around her waist and pulled her in close. "I'm not back where I started," I said softly. "I'm somewhere better." The truth is, they didn't just fire me, they freed me. And 3 days later, they gave me the keys.